What's going on, everybody? Zack Rosenblatt here with Mike Kaye. We're at Lambeau Field, deep into the night. It's 1 a.m. East Coast time. The Eagles just beat the Green Bay Packers in a thrill. That was a really fun game to cover, to be honest with you. It was 34-27. A lot happened. Actually, a lot of positive stuff, as opposed to the last couple of weeks where maybe we had to go negative because it was like they were just doing so many things wrong. This game, the things, for the most part, went right outside of injuries, which we're going to get to. But you come out of this, you probably feel pretty good about the Eagles' future again, right? This feels like a team that, if they get Deshaun Jackson back this upcoming week, they ran for, I think, 170 yards tonight, which is the most they've ran for in a long time. Like, just everything that, on offense at least, you feel really good about where this team's at.
Yeah, you and I talked about it a couple of weeks ago when Deshaun went down. They needed to go finish 2-2 in the first quarter of the season. They accomplished that. That was their mission. Because, as you and I talked about earlier in the day, you want to at least be at 500 right now. So when you head into that brutal stretch of, the Jets at home, which is...
That's not the brutal part, but yeah.
Right, not the brutal part, but part of that quarter. And then you go on the road and you face Minnesota and Dallas and Buffalo. Oh my. You know what I mean? That's going to be a brutal stretch. So,
and then the Bears, Patriots, and Seahawks, yeah.
Right, so you want to, at worst, get through the first 2 months of the season at 500. Because once you get past that, you're home the majority of the time, and you can get to that 10-win, 11-win season. I think we learned a lot about this team offensively. The red zone offense was phenomenal. I thought Doug called an incredibly good game. There were some questionable challenge calls, a non-challenge too.
There was some weird officiating stuff tonight.
Yeah, there was. On both ends.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, it wasn't like a favoritism thing.
Right, and we need to touch on it later, but from an overall first immediate thoughts, you feel really good about the offense because they did what we had been talking about forever. They gave Jordan Howard the ball, but not only that, they allowed Miles Sanders to get into a rhythm too. This was a rhythmic running game. They also, both running backs and Doug Pederson talked about how the offensive line was able to get going. Well, duh. You know what I mean? It was like they were fighting against this. And sometimes it was situational football, but you saw what happened when Jordan Howard got 4 or 5 touches in a row. He was
real. This might have been one of his best performances, and that says something for a guy who's had some good ones.
Note for you, Jordan Howard today after the game told me this is his first win ever at Lambeau, and he played 3 years with the Bears.
Also, he only had 1 career receiving touchdown with the Bears, and he had 1 today.
And
we're gonna talk about him a lot. But
yeah. This is going to be the Jordan Howard.
So we're gonna start at the end with this game.
Right.
There's a whole sequence that we need to cover. It was one of the stranger sequences of events I've ever seen, to be honest. So it started, the Packers drove all the way down the field. Did they get to the 1 yard line?
3.
3 yard line. I believe they had 3 plays there. And then Avonte Maddox on this play, Andrew Sendejo. You saw, explain exactly what happened, and then I'll get into more about the aftermath.
I didn't see who the receiver was, but
they were going to tackle
the same guy. Andrew Sendejo made a terrible choice to lower his head and not basically he was a missile with no vision whatsoever. Hit Avonte Maddox in the neck head area.
He immediately went down.
You and I have been covering football for years.
For a while, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever seen a more tense, carting off the field. I've seen guys get leg injuries and head injuries.
He didn't get carted. He got.
They took him off on a gurney.
Yeah.
So
stretcher. He came off on a stretcher. Which, just talking to guys who've covered the team longer than us, they couldn't even remember the last time they'd even seen that.
The only time I'd ever seen that was Tavius Mathers in Jaguars training camp, and it was brutal. There were grown men crying. It was bad. So
basically, Sendejo and him were going for the same guy. Sendejo. So this isn't last week. He also did. It wasn't this serious, but he tackled his own player out. There was a play last week that circulated on social media where he shoved one of his own teammates to the side to try and get a tackle. This dude is reckless. I know we're both been critical of him, and he didn't talk to the media after the
Surprise!
game. Just cut this dude, man. So that happens. It's like a really emotional moment. The whole team comes out on the field. Packers players are on their knee. It's like one of those sort of serious situations. Malcolm Jenkins I talked to after, and Rasul Douglas, they were two guys that were standing right next to him, and they were just trying to make him laugh because they wanted to see that he was okay. So Malcolm Jenkins was cracking a joke, and he started just cracking up. Like Vontae just started laughing really hard to the point where it started making Rasul and Malcolm start cracking up. And he was like moving a little bit. I think he gave a thumbs up. So they started feeling a little bit better. And so then you take that, if there were any positive to come out of like this moment happening and then them having to go back out on the field, is that it gave them like a little bit of a longer timeout to gather themselves. They had to figure out who was going out on the field. They knew Craig James was going to be one of the only cornerbacks left, so he had to go. Malcolm told him they're gonna target you. Like we know they're going to. You're the guy.
They all knew.
They all knew. But they all had. Rasul told me, like, we have confidence in everybody. We made sure we let him know that we know he can go out there and do this. And then, Craig James, he tips a ball that Nigel Bradham, of all people, intercepts to clinch the game. Nigel Bradham dropped an interception earlier in the game. It's like almost a running joke that this dude just, like, drops any ball that comes his way. He dropped one that would have been a pick six. Like, and you were saying, like, if they lose this game, like, maybe that's something we look back on. He redeemed himself, certainly. Craig James, like, the fact that Craig James was the one that tipped it, like, this was the sort of, like, we always talked about, like, this felt like last season, like, for every week this week. That felt like 2017. That was like a kind of moment that happened, like Patrick Robinson having a crazy play or something. Mm-hmm. And that clinched the game. So just the way they were able to, it was like we said, it was a really emotional thing. Like, guys were really broken up about it. Dallas Goedert's really close with them. He was pretty torn up in the locker room after. And just to be able to bounce back against Aaron Rodgers on fourth down, right? Was it fourth down? No, the second down. But the clock's running. Anyway, it was second down on the 3-yard line. Aaron Rodgers has a chance to win the game, which he's done so many times. He was destroying the secondary all night. And the Eagles were the ones that kind of almost benefited from this emotional moment, as opposed to the Packers taking advantage of a downtrodden secondary that's down to 2 players. Like, what was like that sequence in particular, how much, even though they lost a bunch of guys, like, that has to make you feel pretty good about this team's, like, grit. As corny as that sounds, like, this team is not going to lose any game. They're not going to fold. Like, that's never going to happen.
I think it speaks to the chemistry that's in the locker room, the camaraderie, the trust that these guys have in each other. Because they talk about it all the time. That secondary is incredibly close. And they're very good at bringing guys in. That was something that was huge with Crevon LeBlanc when he got here.
This felt like a LeBlanc-type moment.
Yeah, it did. They're paper thin at corner right now.
They have 2 healthy corners.
Yeah, and frankly, Rasul Douglas is the best cornerback on this team this season. Or has been the most consistent.
He's been good since he had bad week 1. Since then, he's been really good.
I mean, so did Sidney Joe. You know what I mean? So, like,
and Sidney, another hamstring injury, by the way, another soft tissue.
We'll
injury.
get into that later. But we got to compliment Rasul Douglas in this game.
Yes,
he played a very good game. There were times. I mean, he got a pass interference call. There were some times where Devontae Adams got the better of him, but Devontae Adams got the better of everybody. He had 180 yards.
But he had most of them in the first half, 150, I think.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
That guy is a top 5 wide receiver.
But the first 3 catches he had were against Sidney Jones. He was having a really bad game before he went down.
Yeah, Sidney was getting beat like a drum.
But Rasul, you and I have been very big Rasul proponents since last year. I think in London, you went on a rant about how we don't understand how he's not in the game. Like, if he hasn't proven to this coaching staff at this point that he deserves to, if not be the number 1 corner, then be a locked-in starting corner. Like, I don't know what else the guy can do.
When he was coming out of college and I was doing a film study on him, I said that he was kind of like a poor man's Jalen Ramsey. Has really good safety, ball skills, can really face up on a receiver. Is really good in zone, can play press really well. I'll say this. If the Eagles are still interested in Jalen Ramsey, which they totally should be, I'm changing this cornerback group to Rasul Douglas and Jalen Ramsey, and I'm going press. You can play press zone, you can play press man, but it's time. Like, Rasul's been the most consistent corner of the last 2 years.
He's healthy. He's reliable. He's the most reliable cornerback they have. He's the most reliable corner they have.
And frankly, he's a gamer too.
Yeah.
Like, and he brings an energy to the thing.
And he's really well liked in the locker room.
So Craig James, right, played one snap against Atlanta on defense.
This was his second. He played 2 snaps at the end of the game.
And I talked to him a little bit after the scrum, but he said basically the receiver cut in and he knew it immediately, and so he just reacted on the ball. I'm sure he said that to you guys too.
Well, he's clearly just like a smart player to like be able to react like that. Yeah.
Well, and that was the thing too, is he was a guy that underperformed on defense but was good on special teams in Minnesota. And he can play outside and inside. And I think it speaks volumes about how they've been bringing him up as opposed to going and getting like a veteran like Orlando Scandrick or whatever. They clearly like this guy. I don't want to call him like the Shannon Sullivan of this year, but he's going to be a guy who's going to be on this roster.
Shannon Sullivan on the Packers, by the way.
Yeah.
He went over to see how Avante was doing.
Swell fella.
He actually was a good guy.
Yeah, he is a good guy. But I think moving forward, Craig James, like when you make a play like that, it's kind of like Cravon. You remember Cravon against the Giants had the big breakup, and that was kind of like his moment.
But by the way, Cravon, he was thrown into the fire in that Saints game, and he didn't play well. Like Craig James came in after not playing today. He might have been on special teams, maybe. I don't even, based on the PFF, I don't think he was actually.
I mean,
so Matt, so you're going in cold, like. So I don't know what you're doing on the sideline to stay ready the whole time, but he mentally was ready to go in there, and that it was just a really gutty thing to like. That really, he earned his spot on this roster. Maybe this is his best moment as an Eagle. Who knows? But at the very least, this speaks highly of like Andy Weidel and his ability to go and find a guy, because that was what Joe Douglas was always praised about, and maybe Andy has that same kind of skill.
And I think it speaks to Corey Undlin and
Corey Undlin getting him ready.
Yeah, I mean, like people hate on the secondary a lot, and
today they were bad a lot of the time,
right? And rightfully so. I will say this: the reason why they won this game is because they were great in the red zone on offense and great in the red zone for the most part on defense, and So something interesting about the defense, they started playing 2 safeties high as opposed to
Zendejo played a lot, by the way.
Yeah, well, Zendejo, I think part of the reason why Zendejo played so much is the cornerback injuries. Because you couldn't really rotate. Avante didn't look good on the outside. They at one point had to just go base big nickel, and Cyprian got a lot of playing time. And for the most part, I would say Cyprian actually played okay.
There were still a lot of like lapses where like Geronimo Allison would be wide open in the middle of the field or whatever.
Yeah, but he's also a tough cover because he's really big and
And I think the touchdown he had came after a blitz that didn't work, which seems to be a theme each week.
It's tough to blitz Aaron Rodgers.
And Aaron Rodgers was amazing, by the way. 34, 53, 422, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. The fact that they were able to keep him out of the end zone so many times, that was very reminiscent of last year. The defense did that quite a few times last year. I made a joke to you. It's like they don't need Jalen Mills in this moment because he was always so good at like shutting teams down in the red zone. But so what were you about to say?
So speaking of Aaron Rodgers, we would be not doing our jobs.
He led the team in rushing. I didn't even realize.
Yeah,
he had a few great rushes, but I didn't even realize that. Wow.
Derek Barnett got the first defensive end sack. And sack fumble.
He did, yeah. That was.
So Aaron Rodgers had 2 turnovers. That was basically what I wanted to emphasize.
Yeah, that's a good point. So Barnett, he had an up and down game. We should talk briefly about the play he had in the beginning of the game, where I'm not sure he should have been allowed to stay in the game, if I'm being completely honest. So Jamal Williams, the Packers running back, was being brought down by like 3 Eagles defenders.
Yeah, Nigel Bradham basically held him down.
I don't know if the whistle had been blown or Barnett said he didn't hear a whistle blown, so he charged in and he dove headfirst at a guy and he hit him helmet to helmet. He got sent out on a stretcher. I don't know if he went to the hospital, but they said he was being evaluated for head and neck injuries.
He could move all of his extremities.
Like it was, and it looked worse on the replays. Derek Barnett, he didn't necessarily defend himself, but he more was like, I didn't hear the whistle. You're supposed to play until the whistle's blown. This is a violent game. Like I went up to Jamal like on the stretcher and said like I obviously did not want this to happen. Like this is terrible. This is the worst part about football. A lot of guys said that about those 2 injuries. Mm-hmm. It was still just like such a boneheaded play, and like it blew my mind. Number one, that he got away. They got a 15-yard penalty, but like
So
that was such like you can't do that.
I agree. I think the reason why he was not kicked out is because the whistle hadn't blown.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much. He said he didn't think he was going to because of that.
That said,
there'll be a fine coming.
Absolutely atrociously stupid play.
Yeah,
like stupid. You
could have killed that guy. Like,
I mean, there's a thing where like you can be tough and you can make big hits. Like Cyprian used to do that all the time, but he would never put anybody in harm's way.
This is not it's just football situation. Like, you can't just pass it off like that.
Yeah, you can't. I get it. You're frustrated. You're frustrated. You miss out on a tackle, whatever. You can't play like that. Like everybody's like, oh, it's a powder puff league now. But when you directly go and you hurt someone,
he was going down already. Like, what did he think he was going to accomplish there?
They literally Nigel Bradham had him dead to rights.
I'm pretty sure there was 3 guys. Maybe there was 2, but they were bringing him down. Well, you add more in your head, right? Like you go farther away.
Here's
but
the thing. Injury aside, right? Just simple football terms. You don't make that play coming up from behind and lower your shoulder when you have a guy that is being controlled by multiple teammates. And then it costs you 15 yards when you just got a positive play on, I think it was first or second down. Like, what are you doing? And I know Derek Barnett, at least from covering him, and he seems like a really swell guy.
They scored at the end of the drive, by the way.
Right, they did. I mean, that was the wind got knocked out of their sails a little bit.
Yeah, you could kind of feel the momentum shifting because of that.
Somebody made fun of me because I said that, but I like it's true. Like you could feel the air like change.
I mean, it was kind of like when Brandon Brooks went down in the Saints game. Yeah. Like the Eagles were dominating, all of a sudden they weren't anymore. Like it's not like the Eagles were dominating at that point, but it just felt like, oh yeah, the karma is going to come back and get them right now.
Yeah.
But anyway, Barnett did bounce back from that. I think he had a pretty good game. It was up and down, but he had that strip sack. It was the reverse Super Bowl because Brandon Graham jumped on it.
And it kind of bounced that way too.
Yeah. Brandon Graham had a great game too. He has more years left in him than maybe I realized, honestly.
I mean, so he, in my opinion, is one of the top 5 run-stopping and defensive ends in the league.
He gets really good penetration on running plays.
Yeah, I mean, he gets at least 2 tackles for a loss every game. Fletcher Cox looked a little bit better in this one. I thought that Josh Sweat had a great play.
I think Ridgway had a good run towards the end of the game, too.
Yeah, I mean, I thought everybody kind of stepped up in this one, just because you're not finishing on... Like, we make a big deal out of sacks, and we make a big...
As Schwartz says, it's like if they do something else, it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, part of the reason why the red zone defense was good is because they kept... I mean, Aaron Rodgers was running around to save his life. He was just better at running around than the defensive line.
He's a hard guy to tackle.
I thought the secondary didn't play well for the most part, so like that didn't help either. The linebackers had some trouble. This was probably Nigel Bradham's best game in a pretty long time.
That interception just made it that way anyway.
Well, yeah, I mean, but he tackled.
He did tackle better. Zack Brown had a good pass breakup.
He did, and then he had a really, really, really stupid personal foul call.
That sounds like Zack Brown. And Ronnie McLeod had a really up and down game because he was getting beat quite a bit in the first half.
Yeah.
In the second half, he was making plays though. So I mean, he's a vet.
Yeah, he had a really great play in the red zone. So I think this is like we talk about how talented this team is, and we talk about the depth on this team. We also talk about the coaching on this team as if it's like, oh man, they either called a bad game or a good game.
It's not that simple.
It's not that simple. This is a very nuanced situation. These injuries I mean, they were really counting on Timmy Jernigan and Malik Jackson being a very key part of this defensive line. Obviously, they thought Ronald Darby was going to return to form, whatever that form is.
Sidney Jones.
They
come out of here more injured than they were before on defense.
I don't know if this is you can obviously come back from a hamstring injury, but at some point, you can't give Sidney Jones a long-term big role and just expect him to fill that.
You can't rely on him to stay healthy.
Right. And I just think, this team is smart not to trade Rasul Douglas. And, Craven will be back in the second half of the season.
Jalen's eligible to be back week 7.
Yeah. There's going to be some serious, adjustments here.
It's going to be interesting to see how, because I think all those guys, I mean, we don't know about Avante and Sydney right now, but those other guys might be coming all back around the same time. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. But Rasul is one of the starters.
I'll wager to say that one of those injured guys won't play again this season.
Yeah. All right, so let's flip back over to the offense, and let's talk about the running game.
The Jordan Howard hour.
So Jordan Howard, it was getting like as loud as I can remember in recent years from the fan base about play. Anytime you mention Jordan Howard's name on Twitter, it was immediately like, why aren't you playing him? Give him the ball, give him the ball, give him the ball. Like, I've never seen anything like it. And this in Philly, there's always a guy like that. And it was like getting so loud. And he showed you why. His first play of the game was a 19-yard run. He just ran the ball so like the whole night. 15 carries, 87 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he had 3 catches for 28 yards and a touchdown. The touchdown catch, he was wide open. It was a really great play call. I know you asked Carson and Doug about it, and you got like conflicting ideas about it. But just talk about the play.
Yeah, so
that was big.
He lined up wide left. He didn't line up.
That was in the third quarter, by the way. The Eagles were up 21-20.
So they lined up in the shotgun. He ran a wheel route, and I guess they had a coverage responsibility breakdown. The Packers did, and Carson saw it right away. Ball on the money, overhead. I mean, like he was a wide receiver, caught it in stride, ran for a touchdown. Listen, Jordan Howard worked really hard this offseason on his pass catching, worked on the jugs machine, constantly was working with Carson. I talked to him after the game. He said, Carson's really shown a lot of trust in him, and that was very important. What I think's interesting about this running attack is they used it. We constantly are on this rotation. There wasn't a lot of Darren Sproles in this game. I think he had 1 carry for 4 yards.
Yep.
Corey Clement was active, but he only played on special teams.
It's a 1-2.
It's a 1-2, and
or a 1A, 1B, I should say.
And they used it to this
is what we both have been preaching in the last few weeks.
Oh, and what did I say in the preview pod? There were going to be running lanes. There were going to be running lanes, and they found them. The offensive line played very, very well. It got them going. Jordan Howard isn't the most dynamic runner. He's not.
He's not that fast,
but he knows how to get extra yards after contact. He actually showed a lot of really good vision in this game. I cannot wait to rewatch this game because there were some things he was doing that were very, very smart. There were runs that you would say, if Miles Sanders got that run, it would probably be for 2 or 3 yards less. That said, Miles Sanders played very well in this game. The 67-yard kickoff return, I think, is what set up a touchdown. I think that basically is what sparked the comeback.
They haven't had a kickoff return like that. I can't remember the last time.
Corey Clement had one like a couple of years ago that was pretty big, but like other than that, Ken John Barner had one the Super Bowl year. But like that like changed the mood in here.
I think it helped him too. I think it loosened him up a bit.
Oh yeah, and he ran the ball very well.
He still has the occasional one where he pops outside or whatever, but
it worked to his advantage.
So he had a 30-yard run. It was spurred by the offensive line. Jason Peters just destroyed. I think it was a safety, just murdered that dude and just cleared out the gap. And Miles Sanders has that's the kind of play where he's going to get more yards than Jordan Howard probably.
Yeah,
and that's why they're such an interesting one. This is the most talented 1-2 I think they've had since Doug Pederson has been.
Yeah, oh for sure.
Look, Jay had some natural talent, but I don't know if he knew where he was going like Jordan Howard does.
Well, we all know I'm Twitter sensitive, and I was very annoyed because I put out a video of a really good run of his against the Lions, and there were a lot.
We talked about this on the preview, I think.
Yeah, but there were a lot of people that were like, "He's not multidimensional. You know what Jordan Howard is."
Yeah.
Blah 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 blah.
And he knows what he is too.
Well, he was 3-dimensional in this game. He had 2 or 3 really good blitz pickups.
Those were good catches too.
He caught the ball well. He ran the ball well. He did some 1-cuts that were great. I think it's kind of ridiculous. He got sent. He's a bulk rhythm guy. If you ask him, he will tell you that. It's a fact.
He was a bell cow for 2.5 years, basically.
Well, and the reason why he failed his 3rd year in Chicago is they kept moving Tariq Cohen onto the field, and they were running out of shotgun every single play. He never got to build momentum. Here, they did some stuff out of under center, and even negative runs can get a guy going. You just need to get that contact and get him into the rhythm of the game. And I think Jordan Howard. This was a signature win for him, too. You know what I mean? We talk about signature wins for Carson, but this was a signature win.
He's never won in Lambeau, right?
Right, yeah.
Which is kind of crazy. He played there
3 times.
3 times. And he played the Packers 6 times. So it's funny because I asked Doug Pederson at his what day? Wednesday press conference, if there's some value in a guy who's been at a place like this and kind of like can appreciate like the environment because this is like unlike very many environments in the NFL, and he clearly was ready for this moment.
Oh, for sure.
So we've gone. I don't have the exact time. I want to say 20-something minutes without even mentioning Carson Wentz, which says a lot about like just how this game played out. So his final numbers, like they don't jump off the page. 16 of 27, 160 yards, 3 touchdowns, 113 passer rating. He did his job. Like he was more than a game manager. Like he was very instrumental. The Alshon Jeffrey touchdown is a really good throw. He had a couple of inaccurate throws, but overall, it's often talked about how he doesn't have like a signature win. I don't know if this is a signature win, but it's a big win in a close game, which he doesn't have many of, against a really good team in a tough environment. And I think you gave him a B+.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think some people get lost in the term game manager.
Yeah.
He wasn't a game manager in this, but he was an accessory of the offense, right? So this game was built around the running game and the offensive line, and Carson made plays when his number was called. You know, he wasn't the guy that was willing this team to victory. That said, this was one of his more efficient performances. You can look at the numbers, whatever, but so what they did was they worked a lot of timing throws, and it worked out well. They played a little bit of bully ball, really, where they were just targeting Alshon Jeffrey, Dallas Goedert, Zach Ertz, and then Jordan Howard. So they played some bully ball.
Nelson Aguilar had 1 target today. He didn't catch it.
Yeah, I mean, they even threw to Matt Collins.
More than him, actually. And
read a great article on him on NJ.com. But
thank you.
Yeah, but so typically, he threw to 6 different receivers. Typically,
which is less than usual, yeah.
Yeah, normally it's 8 or 9. That said, though, they played bully ball. Like, they worked the size of their guys. Because Jair Alexander and Darnell Savage are not big guys. So they worked the size advantage. Kevin King is a little bit bigger. But again, he's been terrible. So I think, that was smart. Having Alshon Jeffrey back was a big deal.
I was about to say, just his presence.
He obviously wasn't 100%. There were some clear plays where he looked like he was...
But having him and Goddard looked like himself today.
Yeah, Goddard...
He was running. Yeah. He had a good touchdown catch. He was doing well. He played on the first play. 12 personnel was really effective, especially in the running game. We mentioned this in the beginning of the podcast. So you have Goddard getting healthy. You have Jeffrey getting healthy. If Deshaun comes back this week, or maybe he comes back in 2 weeks, in the next couple weeks... You have that element where you don't need to even necessarily rely on Deshaun as maybe much as we thought they were going to have to after week 1 because you have the running game. Like their offense, we can go back to saying this is a scary offense where maybe if anything's a surprise, it's that Nelson Aguilar might not be a part of it going forward. He's going to be in this and he's going to play a decent amount, but they're going to go 12 personnel pretty heavy, I think, this season.
Yeah, what was interesting to me was he and JJ Arcega-Whiteside got a decent amount of playing time. They just really weren't part of the game plan. And I don't know if that was, a conscious decision or what have you, but...
Yeah, Arcega-Whiteside played 6 snaps.
I mean, 6 snaps is more than I thought he would.
Yeah, I didn't even... And Aguilar played 56 and he had 1 target.
Yeah, Aguilar was out there a lot. But he was doing stuff away from the ball. He's a decent blocker.
I'm curious to see how he handles his reduced role now.
Here's the thing that I'm interested to see is when Deshaun Jackson's back, is it him or Matt Collins in the slot?
They clearly value Matt Collins.
Yeah, Matt Collins got a lot of playing time in this game, and Carson clearly trusts him.
Was there any drops that you can remember today?
Yeah, Alshon had 2.
And he was rusty. So Matt Collins played 40 snaps.
Right. So which
is a lot.
How many did he get in the slot?
He got 1 snap in the slot. 2 out of the backfield, it says.
But the past 2 games, he's played roughly 50 snaps in the slot. So that tells you something.
Yeah, that's actually a good point.
I have him every now and then. He had a great seal block on a run for Jordan Howard early in the game. The 19-yard run that you mentioned.
Matt Collins did?
Yeah.
You did mention that. That's right. Yeah.
I actually think that was the one play he was in the slot.
He actually, I think that was part of his game coming out of college. He was known for special team stuff. He was known for that, and he was known for being a deep threat, which I don't know if he's quite the deep threat that the Eagles thought he was going to be, but...
Gotta be able to run routes.
Yeah, I don't know. Aguilar didn't really show that he deserves to play a lot, to be honest, last 2 weeks.
So another guy I wanted to mention is Alex Ellis, who had a great wing block. That
was on the Jordan Howard touchdown, right? He walked in with untouched.
Yeah. So what they did was it was great. They put him in the slot, and then they worked him in motion pre-snap, and then he this wham block was fantastic. So if that's his role, if he's like a goal line blocker like he was last week when he was the fullback, that's like a huge deal. And I think he'll be active for the rest of the year. I know we've talked about how they're going to use that 53rd spot as kind of like a revolving door, a vestibule. Of
they're going to have another interesting week of roster decisions, by the way.
Yeah, this is going to be... I'm kind of nervous about us flying in the middle of the day tomorrow. But
they don't usually do it right away anyway.
I know, but you never know.
They wouldn't unless one of these injuries was so serious that they're immediately going on IR.
Well, yeah, tomorrow's Friday, so I guess everybody else is.
They
in the
have
middle
pretty
of
much the weekend.
Yeah.
But
right.
I mean, think about it. So they have Darby's now hurt. I mean, Darby was hurt, out for a month. Sidney Jones, we don't know how serious it is, but he's hurt at least. Avonte Maddox, I can't imagine he plays this next week.
Either way, they need at least two.
That's what I'm saying. So they have all these guys taking up all the inactive spots. So you're gonna have to cut somebody. You have to. I mean, they only have two corners. Like they probably have to cut two people.
Well, the thing is too is you don't just
or make a trade.
You don't just need replacements. You need starters.
Yeah, that's why I wonder if you call around Scandrick, if you call up a Jeannie Harris, if you sign.
Is that how you pronounce his name, Jeannie Harris?
I think so. Who's Dexter McDougal? Like it's going to be guys like that. Well, I'm saying on a short notice, you need. I guess they have. It's not really a short notice. I wonder if they make a trade though, even if it's a small scale trade.
Yeah, I mean there are teams. Well, here's the thing. This is the week to do it because after
Ramsey.
Once you get to Monday, a team's going to be 0-4, and they're going to be looking to sell.
Do you think the Jaguars would call the Eagles right now, knowing that they're desperate?
No, that's not a way to work a leverage move. You want
like give us 3 first-round picks or something.
And Dave Caldwell's playing this very well, I would say. So, hey, nothing like a baby gift of being traded to Philly. You know what I mean, Jalen?
Great children's hospitals in Philadelphia. And
Virtua
in South Jersey,
yeah. That's where your brother's kid was born too, right?
Yes.
Yeah, hey, look, keep it in the family. Something I also want to... There's a couple of things I want to touch on as well before we wrap up. Cameron Johnston.
Yeah, your boy. Holler at him.
Goodness gracious.
He had 4 out of his 5 punts went inside the 20 today. And the other one, he was like on his own 10.
His
average was pretty low, but it's because like where he was punting it from.
Right, but he controlled the field today. And he made it difficult on the pass.
So he had 4 punts, 3 inside the 20, and the other one was his longest one, where he was at like his own 10.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean it's a joke, but it's also serious. He's been their most consistent player.
Yeah, I mean he's
like week 1 to 4, he's been their most consistent.
If Pro Bowl voting is going to get any attention, if Australia, if you're out there, you need to vote for this man because he deserves it. Jake Elliott, still perfect.
Yeah, he didn't kick any field goals today.
Yeah, but he got all of his extra points, which
that's all you need.
You know, sometimes that's all you got. But I think the special teams group, at least the specialists, have delivered.
Hey, Rudy Ford had a good tackle as a gunner, didn't he?
Yeah, Rudy Ford actually. Yeah, it probably should have been a flag. It was a helmet to helmet, but he got down on the first punt like a demon.
Yeah.
Look, I think sometimes like a win like this can kind of be the thing that sparks you. In a way, like you look at the Carolina game in 2017, like they were good, but you didn't really know how good. And when they beat Carolina, it was kind of like, oh, okay. And then I think they won out until they played Seattle. This team, like if they play like this, they're going to beat Minnesota. They're going to beat Buffalo. They're going to beat the Jets.
And around Buffalo, Dallas Buffalo is when they should start getting some of those guys back too.
Right. I think, like I said, I think they have to finish at 500, and they're really set for that second half. That's when the momentum shift comes because you look at it, they're traveling. What was it? They're on the road. It's
5 of 6 or 4 of 5 games.
Yeah,
counting today,
and then I don't think they get on a plane once
after week 8. Yeah,
yeah. So and then you've got the Redskins and the Giants. And
for the love of God, can they just destroy the Jets next week? Can we just have an easy game for once in our godforsaken lives?
Yeah, I would really like to be done with my copy by halftime.
I know. Can we just the Jets are bad.
So here's what I will say, and everybody's going to kill me for this. The Jets have never beaten the Eagles in the regular season. So I think they're 0-11.
There you go. We don't know if a mono guy is going to be playing or not,
but they're going to be going mano-y-mano.
Oh my god, we need to
go. It's getting late, guys.
It's 1 a.m. local time, 2 a.m. East Coast time.
Something also notable from the inactives: Nate Sudfeld was inactive today. I think it's a foregone conclusion now.
Yeah,
we can stop talking about it. We're speculating. Josh McCown is the backup.
I mean, he showed why when he went in that game. Was that last week or 2 weeks ago?
Yeah. So the other inactives were Matt Pryor, Nate Herbig, and Sharif Miller, the guys that weren't injured. Those guys are clearly the guys that are really at the bottom of the totem, and I wonder if
which of those guys gets cut.
Probably
Herbig.
I would think it would be Pryor.
I think they would cut Herbig before Pryor.
All right, cool. You heard the bet. You heard the bet. You guys can name the terms.
All right, we got to wrap it up. So thank you guys for listening to this pod. It was that was a fun wild game as opposed to the bad wild ones of the last couple weeks.
Definitely in the top 5 of my coverage.
Yeah, it was fun from start to finish too. We'd like shootouts; those are fun. So we'll wrap up on that note here from Lambeau Field. You guys will probably wake up to this podcast unless you're loco and already listened to it tonight. And if so, we appreciate you for that.
Well, it's already the morning.
So yeah, that's true. Yeah, touche. So again, like always, leave us comments, write us some reviews, and we'll read them at our next episode. Thanks for listening, guys.